the last day of the year. Thank you very much for keeping faith with us for business on Joy News. My name is Emmanuel Boaji. This is Business Live. Coming up tonight, some topical issues that made headlines in business over the year highlighted on the 2019 Joy Business Review. Meanwhile, some members of the public share thoughts on some business news items in 2019. Plus, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta outlines focus of 2020 budget as he prepares to present the estimates to Parliament in 2 weeks. These are our headlines. Of course, we come in the details right after this. Again, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Emmanuel Aboachi Riafe. Now to our very first story. Economist Professor Godfred Bokwin says the local retail market feud between Ghana and Nigeria will not end with a clear winner. He therefore urged the two countries to take advantage of their diverse strengths and enhance their markets. Professor Bokwin advised Ghana to tread cautiously in order not to sacrifice its sovereign interest for regional integration.
Restrict our borders to just petty retail trading. There's much bigger business happening between countries and all of that. So that is where I'm looking at it. Look, this is a game where nobody will come out of it as a winner. Nigeria will not come out of it completely as a winner, and they have to understand that. I believe that. But you see, this also sets the stage for African countries to begin to understand the reality of what they have signed on to and they are working towards within the broader context of the African continental free trade, which has implications for customs, movement of business persons, and all of that. So I believe that we have an opportunity to look at this thing holistically, because we are talking about the AFCFTA kicking in from July next year. In fact, the Secretariat is supposed to be ready by March, and all of that. Of course, Nigeria hasn't ratified the agreement. They've signed, but they haven't ratified. But there are other countries, I think about 28 now. Some are even Francophone, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso. Others have actually lodged their instrument of ratification and all of that. So that is a much bigger issue for us to look at and harmonize. If we want to see Africa as one big continent, we are talking about 1.2 billion people with a GDP size of close to $3 trillion. But that is very huge. So we could actually leverage on economies of scale and scope. But of course, some people will gain more, others will gain less, and all of that. But we should be able to find a way of how do we lessen the burden on those countries that will pick more losses as against those that will pick more gains. And going forward, I think that is how we should see it. And I agree with you when we say Nigeria is doing more self-serving. There is no way Africa can come together, trade among ourselves with that mindset. We have to be able to think beyond that and make room for one another. Also to preserve the stability of their local currency in terms of importation of certain things. And therefore, it's more about policing it. Also to some extent, but I believe that maybe it's part of why Nigeria has not ratified.
That is great reluctance. But Prof, do you think that the time has come for JIPC to review? And they're already working on it, but the review should be guided by the current global economic and trade space.
Africa, because the second protocol, which talks more about competition, which also talks about investment and intellectual property.
I'm talking about JIPC,
Yes, are going to be negotiated. So I believe that because we are looking at it within the broader context, there's no point in we rushing now only to have something that is at variance. Because Ghana is hosting the Secretariat, don't forget. So Ghana, we are in a unique situation because we have to promote the common good whilst we want to promote our national interest also. That is where I think Ghana finds itself. And for that reason, we want to be very careful because there's a lot that Ghana has to deliver for the common good. There's also a lot that Ghana government has to deliver for its own citizens. And that is why I'm saying that we need to be very careful so we don't, because I believe that the next stage, which is a protocol 2, competition, investment, and
so you agree that in the review that JIPC is doing, we should be guided by what is happening
they should take that into consideration
in the global and the regional space.
We cannot send a wrong signal. We are hosting the Secretariat. We are expected to drive a certain agenda. That will mean that we may lose at some point in time.
We have to find a way to make sure that everybody else also plays by the rules.
Yes, we have to sacrifice our interests at some point in time for the common African good.
Now, on the use of the single currency next year, Professor Godfrey Popping noted there is the need to study the dynamics carefully, despite the fact having a common currency will benefit the country significantly.
I think that in all of this, we also have to be mindful of the France effect in their intervention. That I think we need to take another look and study the dynamics and all of that. But there's conventional wisdom that having a common currency, a single currency, will serve our interest in terms of also within the context of the EFCFTA and all of that. So we recognized this long ago. I'm also happy to the extent that the Francophone countries seem to be taking some steps that I think will work for our good in the medium to the long term. And so there's still a lot, we still have a lot of challenges. And even if we are talking about the integration, if you look at the lack of physical connectivity, I mean, landlocked countries within Africa, I mean, sometimes if you have to go to Cameroon, you'll be amazed where you have to go and come back and all of that. So, and it's still very expensive in terms of transaction cost between member countries and all of that. And there's very little economic and financial leakages. But the good news is that if you look at the trade statistics, we are trading among ourselves more in terms of value-added goods than we are doing with the rest of the world. And that is why if we can push that agenda and increase the level of trade among ourselves, then value addition can be accommodated more. And that is where job creation can come. That is where redistribution of wealth can come from what we have been doing since maybe independence or colonialization.
Meanwhile, the editor of the Gold Street Business, Toma Imire, says Nigeria has not been honest to other countries on the reasons why it decided to close its border with Benin.
The federal government has not been the federal government of Nigeria has not been very honest with us about why they closed down that border. Now, Guta now saw an opportunity. You know, there's been one strange incongruity here. Ghana's investment code says foreigners cannot do retail trading unless they have a minimum of I forgot a very large amount of
over $1 million.
Now
$1 or something.
That's Ghana's investment code. ECOWAS protocols say that if you are once you're an ECOWAS citizen, you can do whatever you want in member countries. Okay, so the law needs to be adjusted. Either the ECOWAS protocol should be changed or Ghana's investment code should be changed. I know that Ghana has been working at changing that investment code, but for certain political reasons, they are going about it very cautiously. They want to open up the economy to retail activity by foreigners. However, Guta now saw, you know, this issue has been going on and on. And Guta will threaten to close down these shops and everything, and government will talk to them, and they pull back, and this. Now, when the federal government carried out the ill-advised action of closing that border, which was contrary to all ECOWAS protocols, Guta now decided to implement Ghana's investment code here. And nobody could now start quoting ECOWAS protocols anymore because the main people being affected were Nigerian traders. And Nigeria has started it by...
Those were some excerpts of the Joy Business 2019 review. Now, some people have been expressing their thoughts on some of the topical issues that made headlines. Let's get to see what they're saying.
What I wasn't happy about is the telecommunication. The kind of deduction they were doing. At least, I'm expecting that it should be indirectly, not directly on we, the users. You see, because I've gotten my money, bought a credit, and you do deduction. To be frank, it's not a good thing.
It's about technology. You know, we are in a technology system. Like, we give example with Kantanka, the things he's doing, we should try and support him as Africans. You understand? We should try and support him. We should support not only him, but we have so many things made in Ghana. We should purchase it in Ghana here and use it. But sometimes even the producers, they put a lot of money in the item that we couldn't even purchase. The goods from outside, we can buy it as 50% compared to ours. Ours could be 100%, and the ones from outside will be 50%. So I have no choice but to go for the outside ones.
It's the poultry industry that the government should try their best to enhance the poultry sector. knowing very well the deficit in the meat production and how we are exporting, a huge amount of meat into the country. If we can curtail that and improve on our local one, I think we can do more for
what I want to see in 2020. I want to see a mass, fight against corruption, because that has been the albatross around our neck over the years. And then the genesis of all the problems that we have lamented over the years can be traced to that of corruption. And then, of course, we have had over and over again promises upon promises to deal with this issue. But then the political will and then that of the determination to deal with this issue in question is questionable.
I'll have to say that the increasing of prices for our data, it particularly caught my attention. So if the government can review the prices so that it doesn't really affect we, the Ghanaians.
Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says the 2020 budget would focus on gains made over the past 3 years. The minister is expected to present the budget to Parliament in 2 weeks. The following report highlights what other areas the budget will focus on.
Be this administration's last budget for President Akufo-Addo's term in office. It started in 2017 with a focus on sowing the seeds for growth and jobs. In 2018, it was themed Putting Ghana Back to Work, and in 2019, it was focused on a stronger economy for jobs and prosperity. The Minister of Finance now says sustaining gains made so far would be the focus for the 2020 budget. So what would he be sustaining? That's the question I posed to the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta.
Sustainable stability, security. I think really make sure the roads are done, make sure the flagship projects are going on, and begin to think structurally about tax reform, export drive, things that now begin to place us in a position on a real growth strategy that would also bring the needed employment.
The minister has also been talking about how he plans to deal with the revenue mobilization challenges before the end of 2019 and going into next year.
It's the underperformance of revenue, and we need to figure out how much we can get in these 2 months and how much expenditure we can also manage over the period to be able to claw back. For the new leadership at GRA, let's see what we can get, and then also looking at expenditure patterns, let's see how we can manage that.
He maintained that the 2020 budget will take a firm decision on dealing with the about $3 billion tax exemptions that the country loses annually. For many, the real test will be how he plans dealing with the revenue mobilization challenges and the election year budget overrun cares. One would also want to look at how they're going to raise money to fund some of its flagship programs. Prominent among them is the free SHS, and how it will use the budget to complete some projects it promised to finalize in its first term in office, and keeping the brakes on questionable expenditure, especially in an election year.
Now, with just a few hours to draw the curtains on the year of return, can we boldly say Ghana's economy is the big winner? Well, hotels are said to have benefited significantly from the year of return. How accurate is this assertion? Joy Business's Sandra Esinamapenu visited Ghana's first five-star hotel, the Labadi Beach Hotel, for some answers.
Probably the most talked about in recent time is the year of return. A lot of people are said to be in town, and a lot of figures as well are being thrown about. But how are the key players in the tourism industry impacted on the year of return? We are here at the Labadi Beach Hotel to find out for ourselves how they've cashed in on the year of return. Please come along.
The Labadi Beach Hotel is Ghana's first indigenous five-star hotel. Despite facing stiff competition over the years from emerging modern and stylish hotels, managers of this facility have managed to stay not only relevant but competitive in the industry. Prior to the much talked about year of return, the hotel receives over 10,000 visitors a month. We have come to see things for ourselves for the first time following news of high patronage of hotel facilities due to the year of return. David Ifuala, the the head of marketing at the Labadi Beach Hotel, tells me patronage has exceeded expectations. Since last Friday, the hotel has welcomed not less than 1,500 guests a day.
Now there is over 2,000 rooms in Accra, and also we talk about the Airbnbs and then apartments. So the industry has evolved, it's changed a lot, and there's competition. And of course, once there's competition, you need to also do things to keep you on top. And so for us, yes, there's competition, but we keep changing.
Despite this success, David says things would have been much better if the year of return was properly organized.
Stakeholders, I don't think, were properly informed, or there was a proper discussion with stakeholders. Because hotels are stakeholders, car rentals are stakeholders, all the various stakeholders. I believe that before we could handle this kind of volumes of people coming into our country, the stakeholders must be together so that ideas are shared and the proper things are done, so that there's no disconnect like we are seeing now.
Another issue of concern to many is the high rate of hotel accommodations. Although some guests have expressed satisfaction about the Year of Return initiative, they say there is a need to bring rates down to attract more visitors and also boost domestic tourism. Joseph and his family are in Ghana for the Year of Return. Although not their first time, they contend the atmosphere this time is different.
I think it's nice to see a lot of people from different cultures and countries, especially African Americans coming back to visit all these other places. So it feels a bit different. It feels good to have so many different people here, helping economy, helping, investing in Ghana, and so it's really good. It's really nice to see that. Yeah.
I've been here several times before, but we definitely wanted to make sure that we came here for Christmas, not to miss the Year of Return.
Joseph, however, believes the economy would have benefited immensely if hotel rates and flights were cheaper.
I was expecting it to be a bit lower.
For industry players like the Labadi Beach Hotel, there's little they can do about pricing due to several factors.
It's just common sense that my rates will also have to go up because, hey, I'm a businessman. I cannot reduce my rate when occupancy is high.
So what's the average room now? What's the cost of an average room here at Labadi, and what's the most expensive room if I would want to even bring my family? And how was it previously?
Sandra, I've told you, I work on the best available rate. Best available rate means the higher the occupancy, the higher the... On the average, for this December, where everything was packed, then I'm talking $300, okay, on the average. People think we are expensive. Yes, if you compare to other places we are, it is the reason being that things here are also expensive. Doing business in Ghana is very expensive. Paying your utility bills, very expensive. If I tell you how much we pay per month, you'll be amazed. I mean, we have to import everything. The toiletries in the room, everything is imported in this country. Toothpick is imported.
The year 2019 was declared the Year of Return. The initiative, championed by government, is to mark the 400th anniversary of the abolishment of the slave trade. The move has been lauded by many home and abroad, and arguably has thrown the spotlight on Ghana, with notable personalities across the world trooping in. The initiative also, according to the tourism and creative arts industry, has brought about an increase in over 200,000 in total arrivals in the country, and expected to generate about $1.9 billion for Ghana's economy. As good as the numbers may look, these figures have, however, been met with mixed reactions, with many disputing it. Ghanaian entrepreneur Bryce Simmons is one of such who have doubts about the figures, describing them as exaggerated. He wrote this on social media.
The government has projected the number of foreign visitors to Ghana in 2019 as 1 million people. And even if the projection is met, the Year of Return figures will still not be accurate. As at last count, 750,000 international visitors had made their way to Ghana in 2019. The authorities are projecting total arrivals for the year to hit 1 million. This is, however, doubtful considering the proximity to year end. But even if the numbers do hit 1 million, that would only mean a tiny fraction more than the 984,250 visitors who showed up in 2018. In fact, a mere 15,000 more. On the revenue, he went on to explain why the $1.9 billion is a fabrication. According to the Ministry of Finance computations, average spending per tourist was $1,512 in 2014, rising roughly to $1,800 in 2018. Let's put this to $2,000. Though, with city exchange rate depreciation outstripping inflation, foreigners should actually find Ghana about 5% cheaper than last year and might spend less. Be that as it may, the extra spending that could conceivably be attributed to an increase in arrivals due to the year of return would amount to about $30 million in this scenario. By what conceivable mechanism can a $30 million optimistic projection mutate into $1.9 billion?
Although the figures continue to generate public debate, it is clear many have returned for the year of return. While we ponder over that, the bigger question is, what's next after the year of return? And has the creative arts and tourism industry benefited from the pool of American celebrities and thousands of expatriates who returned for a bigger gain? Maybe we may just find some answers in the launch of After the Return by President Akufo-Addo. Sandra Sinamapeno, Joy Business.
A hilarious way to end the year. Thank you very much for keeping company with me throughout the year on both the marketplace, on Business Live, and of course, the business news platform. Many thanks for your company. See you next year. Before you go, there's more news when you log onto our webpage, myjournal.com/business. Have a happy new year. Good evening.